Like I've like growing up, I remember calling myself a Bulls fan until middle school, just because Michael Jordan, And then I was like, I'm not a front runner. I'm not going to just skip. And I realized, well, I do follow the New Jersey Nets a lot more than the Chicago Bulls, even though I still follow the Chicago Bulls.
Even though I still follow the Chicago Bulls. Even though I still follow the Chicago Bulls.
Are you telling me you had two teams? You fraud? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Huh?
You know what's even worse? You know what's even worse? And it's like I wish I would have done this by now, but I don't know what happened to it. Like us recording, because I always call you the fraud for liking the Panthers, right? I had, and I swear to God, I don't know where the fuck this thing went. A Bulls blanket I've had since I was like 5.
Oh, oh,
And it was too small, like for a grown ass man. But like Asia would use it, the cat would use it. You know what I mean? Like I want to know where my fucking Bulls blanket went, bro.
I'm just glad this is recording because this is gonna be the cold open. Because like, yeah, see,
Oh, that's fine. No, that's fine because in
expose him.
like I liked LeBron for so long that like I was cheering for the Heat. I like LeBron and Wade. I also have Heat jerseys. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't really have a second team.
So you have three teams. See, you man, you
I
are
don't have
something else. You
I
are
don't have 3 teams.
else.
I'm not on here saying we for 14 teams like you do.
It's two. Relax.
It's
But you
not
know, but
two.
you know what? But you know what's crazy?
You say we. Hold on. You want to make this the cold open? You better keep it bipartisan, sir.
That's
You
fine.
say we for the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
You say we for the Panthers.
Yeah.
Where's the micro camera? You say we for Ohio. You
Yeah,
say
what's
we
it?
for Rutgers.
Yeah, okay.
Am I missing any? Am I missing any? Am I missing any? Is this 4? Am I at 4?
Oh, well, okay, 14 teams in all of sports? Yeah, okay. That's I thought you were talking
Oh,
about
no,
basketball.
the Pirates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in all of sports, yes. Okay,
The
maybe.
Yankees.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
6 teams.
Okay.
6.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come at me because 10-year-old me like the Bulls. You son of a bitch. Like, dude, that's not what you're gonna do here.
All I know is for years this man called me a fake fan because I had two teams. You're a fraud. Who has two teams?
You're a fraud. I don't cheer for the Bulls. Like, that's not the same thing.
Stop it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's another great day to discuss other people's excellence. I am the Unfor One himself, Mr. Brett Carroll. Charles is always daydreaming, and we're two guys that get paid by Prokhorov to give you next propaganda. NBA season preview. A lot has happened over the offseason. We didn't talk about it at the time, so I guess we're gonna talk about it all right now.
No, we talked about the Dame Bucks trade.
I don't think we did.
What's the last we've talked about a couple off-season things. We didn't talk about the Dame.
Yeah, but I think the last time we talked about Dame, he was still not a Buck. So yeah, it's been a while.
Obviously, Brett is very happy that Dame is a Buck now.
Yeah, that's one team I will never root for.
The hatred for the Bucks is real now.
All right, Dame time in Deer Town. Damian Lillard trade talk is finally over. Trade to Milwaukee. The Deer got one of the best closers in the game. Should they be favorites in these? Now, let me be fair. When this and me and Charles, this is one of those things where we talked about on the phone so much that we thought we did a pod about this.
I definitely did.
When this first happened, I was like, man, Portland, I think they screwed up. Again, depending on the rumors that you hear, and I put that in, some people, a lot of rumors were saying that Miami wasn't negotiating in good faith. Other rumors were saying Portland wasn't negotiating in good faith. Obviously, we'll probably never know because we weren't part of those conversations. But to me, if it's true that Portland wasn't negotiating in good faith, I thought that they really, did a disservice. Like at the end of the day, this was the guy that was loyal to you guys, that played for you guys, that put y'all on the map. And was, really wanted to try to win the championship in Portland. If for whatever petty reason you didn't want to send him to the place you wanted to go to, I thought that was messed up. Again, if the rumors are true that it was Portland not negotiating in good faith. Now,
when you say not negotiating in good faith, explain what you mean. Do you mean that they were never going to send him to the Heat?
So some of the rumors were that they had like one conversation and never called them back. Some other rumors said that when Milwaukee offered a deal, they never even gave Miami a chance to match. Some rumors were that when they talk, I mean, again, the rumors are all over the place. Some rumors said
Well,
that
that's the one I heard. The ones like mind you, Brett may hear different things than me from a very airplane view of this whole situation. Because once the trade happened, I really don't care. He wasn't on my team, so I like all the drama around it. But me and Brett, not even being funny, we were on the phone talking about a completely different pod, and I got the notification, and I was like, "Oh shit, this just happened," and he thought I was fucking with him. Is how sudden the trade happened to us. Um, and he
no,
was right.
actually, I had literally just called you, and when you picked up the phone, you didn't even say hi. You said, "Oh shit!" I knew you were driving, so I'm freaking out. I thought something happened, and then you're like, "Giannis to the Bucks." I was like, "Oh, okay." I mean, Dame to the Bucks. I was like, "Oh, I thought he was in like a car accident or something," because I knew you were in the car. And the first thing you say is, "Oh shit!" I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Bro,
But
because when this happened, and I think the trade is decent. I think both me and you said if we take away any possible drama from this, it's a whatever trade, decent enough. And your whole argument was, but what would the Heat have done differently? And I was arguing it's a butterfly effect. You take one team out, you don't know if that third team is dealing with the other team. There's two other teams involved, and the drama could be involved with the other two teams and not the Blazers or the Bucks. It could have been the Heat, and the Bucks didn't want to do a deal together, or vice versa, or the Suns didn't want to help the Heat. We don't know. And all I'm saying is, it doesn't matter if they were negotiating with the Heat in good faith, because it was what was the best interest of the Blazers as a team. And I understand because Brett has articulated to me a bunch of times and on the pod a bunch of times about making sure players are happy because players talk. So I'm sure like that will play a factor in all the discussions. But at the end of the day, I feel like he doesn't really get a chance to complain, because your only complaint, obviously, will be Milwaukee is not Miami as a city and state tax and all that. Sure. But if your argument if you're up Dame Lillard and you're upset you didn't get to go to the Heat because that's exactly where you wanted to go, tough shit. You went to a contender. You went to a team that literally has won recently. So recent that if somebody says, "Hey, I got the Bucks winning this year," no one's like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" That's how serious of a contender they were before this trade. So I just feel like people complaining, especially if it's coming out of Dame's camp, doesn't make him look good, because it's not like the Bucks did him dirt. Not the Bucks. It's not like the Blazers did him dirty here.
well, I think that's part of it. A lot of rumors are coming from his camp that they never even gave Miami a real chance. So
Yeah, but fuck Miami. That's literally what me and you just to try to remember a couple months ago. Uh, me and you were. That's what I said to you. I was like, why would anyone want to help Pat Riley? Like, it's just one of those things. Like, it might not be a Blazers thing. It might be the rest of the league is like, yo, you can get this done with Milwaukee. Fuck the Heat. Like, because the Heat are one of those teams. Listen, we can, as a fan, Pat Riley's the man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not hating on Pat Riley. I think he's amazing. But the dude has not made friends in his 30, 40 years in the league.
no,
Like,
that's true. That's very true. That's very true.
so if Dame wants to leak all these rumors, oh, they didn't even go back to Miami. Guess what, guys? They don't have to. Like they're not obligated to see if the Heat will offer them better, because at the end of the day, I can look at the roster, I can look at their assets, and I can guess what their best offer is going to be. And short of getting Jimmy Butler, which that's not going to happen, is there that many players that they're like, oh, we got to have them? Because we had this conversation before Drew Holiday got moved.
Well,
So
hold that thought, because I want to say
I
that.
just want to clarify. So a lot of what we're saying right now, we're just catching y'all up, because we need to let people know that we're not insane when we skip 2 chapters ahead in our argument.
Yeah. So that was my thing originally, because to me, I was like, all right, you got Drew Holiday, he'll get what, a pick, maybe 2 for him. Like I didn't see them getting a lot for him. I think they fleeced Boston. So now,
And I don't think it's a fleece, because I think it's a win-win for both. And that's just what I'm saying. Because, like, honestly, you saw who I chose. I'm seriously like, yo, if Boston gets their shit together,
no,
like,
I mean that's true, but what I
we
think,
thought they were going to be done after the Marcus Smart move. And now they've replaced Marcus Smart with Drew Holiday. 2 different types of point guards, sure. And no disrespect to Marcus Smart, because that dude is one of those players we're going to have to show respect to and bring up in conversations, because not enough people are going to bring him up because he's defensive. And it annoys me, because that dude had a great career in Boston. Like, to me, he's a Celtics legend. He might not be up in the rafters, but he's one of those players. Ever since he got drafted from Oklahoma State, like that dude. I remember wanting him to get us to draft him. But anyway, Drew Holiday's another one of those players because he's not a Dame Lillard. People are like, oh, Drew Holiday. When me and you were the Nets fans, like, oh, we get like years ago, before this is pre-deloading days to all the younger people. We were like, yo, if we can get like a Drew Holiday in here, like he is the bottom of the top tier or the very tippy top of the second tier in NBA point guards, and that's respectfully because Drew Holiday is an elite point guard in the sense of
getting
like,
Drew Holiday was shit. I just think they overpaid. That's just my opinion, especially for a guy that his age. Because I don't even think Milwaukee traded that much to get him from the Pelicans back in the day. And that was when he was younger. So,
Pelicans back in the day. I'm like, he's a sixer. He's a like it hurts. He said back in the day for the Pelicans.
Well, true. When they got him from New Orleans, I don't even think they gave up that much to get him. So I just thought it was an overpay. But because it was an overpay, I gotta say, you know what, Portland, you did the right thing because you were able to not only flip Dame to Milwaukee, but then you were able to flip Drew Holiday for Robert Williams. I think they got another player and 2 first-round picks. That's a lot.
That's a lot for a guy. Blazers fan. Like, are you upset? Like, listen, if Dame Lillard is a certain age, I can understand why you're upset. Like me and Brett lived through losing Jason Kidd. Like, it's not like you just go, oh yeah, that's easily replaceable when you lose certain point guards, you know? So I understand being mad you don't have Dame time no more, but holy shit, do you have a future? It's not like people are looking at the Blazers
the Blazers did a great trade. A great trade. That's what I'm saying. I'm no longer hating on the Blazers for this trade because the fact that they now let me say this too though. I think they got lucky with that Drew Holiday trade. There's no way they thought they were going to get that. I think they either shot high and Boston said, yeah, let's just do it, or Boston sweetened the deal because they just like, you know, we just really want to get Drew Holiday. I honestly
think it's both because I think the Celtics are of the mind like, hey, he's exactly what we need with this current lineup, and those 2 picks, if it works out, everyone stays healthy, will probably be the last bottom 5 picks anyway. So let's send them because we got a young core. We just re-signed. We got Tatum. We just re-signed Brown, and if we bring in Drew Holiday as the vet point, that we got a really tall, really lanky looking lineup, and it's looking kind of beast. I mean, like that's what I'm thinking. Like they're like, hey.
I just thought getting rid of Robert Williams was huge, man. Because I know people say, well, he's never healthy, but like when he's in that lineup, he helped them so much. And just think about this: they would have had Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Chris Porzingis, Robert. How are you scoring on that team?
But I think that was the give up. It was we need to get. You can't keep all your players in trades. You know what I mean? Like there's only
Well, I figured either you throw them extra picks or you give up some more of your other like depth pieces.
But if suddenly injured prospect with a high ceiling instead of giving up too many picks, because if this doesn't work out, right? Because injuries are a thing, age is a thing, right? If this doesn't work out and it's just a bad year, like this isn't the Nets trade where they lucked out. And they were bad, but they could just swap and get a little bit better of a pick once, and then get good again. Like it's if the Celtics suck, which I don't think they will, but if something happens, a couple injuries, and they're at the bottom, they don't have their pick. You're just coming back with an older, more injured version of the squad you haven't won anything with. So a lot of us are remembering the Celtics when we give the Celtics as a franchise of respect. They're winners, the storied history of all of North American sports, of the sport of basketball in general. But they haven't won since 2000. That's 15. That's 15 years ago. So nobody on this team's a champion. So it's a give and take here. Like they want Drew Holiday because Drew Holiday has proven he can be on a starting lineup of a championship team.
Not to mention he has a history of locking up Damian Lillard. People forget when he was in New Orleans and they swept the Blazers, you would have thought it was because Anthony Davis was like dominating. No, it's because Drew Holiday and I forgot who else was their shooting guard. They locked up Dame and CJ, which was like the crazy. And that's when a lot of people realized, like, okay, this Portland team is just not going to win. Because if you were to tell me that they were going to lose to the Pelicans.
Bradley?
Who?
Was it Avery Bradley that was on that team?
It might have been. I don't remember who their shooting guard was, but
It was a defensive shooting guard. It was one of those shooting guards that people are like, oh, he's trash, and it's like, oh, you only look at threes.
yeah,
Like
they locked Dame and CJ up. And so I think that's when a lot of the Portland stuff started to happen because it was like, yo, if we can't get out of the first round again, if you're telling me that Anthony Davis averaged 50 in the series, okay, like he's Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis didn't even do anything. It was
Anthony
Drew.
Davis is one of the most overrated great players. So take that as a backhanded compliment that's ever existed. Like I know he has his diehard fans, and more power to him. You know, he's never done nothing to be hated. But like to show my cards again, I thought he was going to be a bust. So he's definitely not that. I just thought in college he was going to be one of these names, and in a couple of years, you know, we'd be like, oh, remember the unibrow guy? So I was super wrong about that. But he is the people that were left off the top 75 list, and he was included. I'm just kind of like, based off what? I don't see it. He's good. He's good.
There are still people that are trying so desperately for him to be like in that GOAT power forward conversation. And I'm like, no.
Based off what? Like, because remember the LeBron haters, and I'm sure you have more slides because me and Brett are just off tangents today. Like, it annoys me because the LeBron haters, the second that trade happened, they were saying, oh, you gave away your future dynasty, Brandon Ingram, Julius Rand, all the young players, that young core to get these guys. And now Anthony Davis is going to carry LeBron to a title. And And where's that? Where's Anthony Davis being the Batman and LeBron being the Robin? LeBron's 40, 41. I'm just curious because this was years ago now. This is 4 years ago. And now I'm here and I'm waiting. All you LeBron haters that were saying this guy was going to carry the Lakers, this would be Anthony Davis' team, but LeBron would get all the credit. And y'all are still blaming LeBron. Like, if they don't do anything, it's still LeBron's fault. So when the fuck is Anthony Davis going to be the guy? Because I'm sorry, like injuries has been his problem, and I keep saying it because it's real. It don't get easier in your 30s.
That's true. But sticking with the Bucks, should they be the favorites in the East?
Yeah. Yeah, because Giannis. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, just to keep it a buck, no pun intended. Giannis is the reason they could be the favorites. I think it annoys me because with the lineup, the Celtics are right there, and it's hard for me to not bring them up as like the favorites now. But and this is the other one. This is the third tier team, not the Heat. Not really worried about the Heat. It's the Sixers. If the Sixers could just get their shit together, like Joel Embiid, you know what I mean? Like, if James Harden stops being a bitch and just plays, and Joel Embiid is healthy, they're a threat. They're just a threat. Like, you can't just be like, oh no, you know, they haven't figured it out.
I agree with that. I agree.
Like, I got Joel Embiid as my MVP because James Harden keeps fucking around, and as Joel Embiid is healthy, Joel Embiid's gonna ball the fuck out. So he's
as of right now, it's a toss-up between me, the Bucks, and the Celtics. Again, if they weren't able to keep Robert Williams, I would have said the Celtics, no question. But I don't know. I'm still interested in seeing how that fit works. Only because they don't really have a center. Like what are you relying on Al Horford now again? Like that's my biggest thing. Like center and the Bucks are, they're still tall, so you need length. And yeah, Porzingis is there, but like I don't know.
I forgot Porzingis. I forgot about that. So you just said that.
Right.
The unicorn.
You brought up the Sixers, so let's talk about the Harden way. James Harden saga seems to only be getting started in Philly. Harden's still demanding a trade from Philly, sitting out for practice until he does. A quote-unquote fair trade, depending on the definition of fair, doesn't seem to be in the card for the Sixers, so what should they do? And how good are they even without Harden on the floor? Like let's just say they have to just take a bad deal.
I'm really getting sick of these superstars talking about fair trades when they're demanding trades to one place, not understanding how the fuck negotiations work. Like, tell me you've never had a real job where you had to negotiate your pay based off everybody else. Like this is just, it's insane. It's like, I want to be a Clipper now. Fuck you, dude. Like, this is the third team you're doing this to.
Hey, listen, I only got one thing to say. I told y'all.
The Clippers, bro. Wait,
Hold on,
wait,
hold on, hold on,
wait,
hold on.
wait.
No,
You
no, no,
didn't.
no.
Wait, did you say? Did you say that it was bullshit when he said he always wanted to be in Philly? Was that you?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
So I just want to point out, and the only reason why I'm taking this victory lap is because James Harden had the nerve to take a victory lap when the Nets imploded, right? And all the Kyrie haters said, "See, I told you it was Kyrie's fault that he left." Bullshit. James Harden came to Brooklyn hoping that 7-11 was going to carry his fat ass to a title. Now, let me be very clear. James Harden is a phenomenal basketball player. James Harden can roll out of bed 50 pounds overweight and still be the best point guard on the Nets. James Harden,
And run a pick and roll, looking like he's not even paying attention.
right? James Harden can roll out of bed and lead the league in assists like he did last year for the Sixers. James Harden is just a naturally phenomenal basketball player. You might hate the way he plays, and I hate the way he plays
Great
too.
point. No, hold on. Me and you literally never, ever, ever said anything besides all-time great point guard for our team.
Yeah, well,
Like,
but no, I mean, I'm talking about the people. He hunts for fouls and the step backs, and it's not exciting to watch. And you might hate the way he plays, and that's fair. He's a phenomenal player. And I told y'all his MO was to get carried to a championship. And the moment that wasn't going to happen in Brooklyn, he wanted out. And it was low hanging fruit to point to everybody else and say, no, it's not me. They don't want to win. I came here to win. They're playing around. And everybody believed him because everybody hated Kyrie at the time for not taking the shot. And I told y'all that was a bullshit cop out. They were in first fucking place. First. They needed to hold down the fort for a month and a half tops. All those games were on the road, which means he would have had Kyrie. And yet he said, fuck that. I'm out. Fuck you, James Harden. You are a bitch. And I'm glad that you're exposing yourself for being who you are. Fuck that. And the reason why we know that is just history of James Harden. The moment he doesn't like something, he's out. So if you're telling me you didn't like the fact that Kyrie wasn't getting shot, well, you knew that before the season started. If you're telling me the other rumor was he just didn't like Steve Nash, well, you knew he was a shitty coach before the season started. But you seem to be perfectly fine when it was you and KD balling out.
You're not going back far enough. You're showing our Nets bias, man. Remember when he wanted Jeremy Lin until he didn't. Remember when he wanted Dwight Howard until he didn't. And mind you, Dwight Howard balled the fuck out in the Western Conference Finals that year. It wasn't his fault the Rockets lost, even though he got all the blame. It was Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook. Yep.
Am I missing any other pieces that he definitely wanted until he didn't?
Clint Capella.
Clint Capella. Oh, another person that we the Nets wanted. So the roster of names attached to James Harden, I'll put it like this: when Jeremy Lin is the worst one, like I think the floor for everybody would be Jeremy Lin is mid, right? Like he could be a starter, but he'd be an elite sixth man type, right? Which indicates dude can ball in the NBA, period, right?
Yeah.
That's the worst person you were paired with that you wanted. The other guys named are Chris Paul, who some people put in their top 5 all time.
Mm-hmm.
That's their credit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Russell Westbrook, who arguably is in the top 10 point guards of all time, Mr. Walking triple double. You have Dwight Howard, an underrated center who should have been in
top
the top
75,
unlike Anthony Davis.
Right.
All-time great center. All-time great center. I think he's one of the only dudes who averaged a double-double for as long as he did, period. And then he gets to Brooklyn, gets paired with Kyrie Irving, who, as the one on this pod has been the more critical voice, will be the first one to tell you all-time handles, if not the greatest ball handler of all time. Mind you, that's who you had to be your off guard, because everyone was cool with James Harden running the point. So that's who you were paired with in the backcourt. Not to mention one of, if not the, I think just one of, the greatest shooters who ever exist in Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't good enough.
No, wasn't good. Well, but no. That's the thing. It was good enough. But see, that's my point. James Harden doesn't do things. He does not hold it down. The moment he doesn't like something, he's out. That's what he has shown us. And that's the point. So when he was pointing the finger at everybody else, I said, wait a minute, but you were perfectly fine with Kyrie not having the shot. Now, granted, he made his little jokes like, oh, I'll give him the shot myself. So obviously it might have bothered him a little bit. But the point of the matter is, you were perfectly fine with Kyrie not taking the shot. You were perfectly fine with Steve Nash when y'all were winning, when it was you and KD was having an MVP season. He was the front runner for MVP that year. And y'all were in first place. The moment Kevin Durant went down and they said, yo, James, we need you to step up a little bit, you said, oh, no, I'm out. My hamstring hurts because you can't prove that. And by the way, I want to get traded to Philly. Like bullshit. And on the way out, and then this is another thing. Again, we know him for a fact. What did he do? He didn't put no names out there. He was subtly like, oh yeah, I don't like the way they were doing things over there. They don't want to win. And we assumed he was talking about Kyrie and everything else. We know for a fact, if he really had a problem with somebody, he's going to name drop. He would have said, no, I didn't like the fact that Kyrie didn't take the shot. He never said that. He made these little subtle hints because he knew that we would run with them and say, see, oh, but look, they want to get traded too. So obviously it wasn't me, it's the Nets. Da-da-da-da. Fuck you, James Harden. Had you stayed, we would have won a championship that year. And here's the ironic part. Had he stayed and held it down, he would have got all the credit. Because if he balled out for that month and a half, and if they would have came back and won the championship, they would have looked back at that part and said, yo, bro, James held the season down. Kyrie was only there for road games, even though most of the games were on the road.
He would be the GOAT Nets point guard.
And again, because
even if he didn't make, hold on, even if we didn't win the ring, if the season he had with us, if the second season he didn't get traded and he just was part of the reason we made the finals, he's now in the conversation. It's Jason Kidd and it's James Harden.
Yeah,
and mind you, I'm well aware Kyrie is in this conversation. Like, I'm not trying to throw shade at sideways shade at Kyrie as a point guard.
No. 100%. We're being fair, but that's my point, and that's another thing. You know, Kai wasn't going to get none of the credit, right? We know that, especially back then without not taking the shot. James Harden would have been elevated to heights that he would have been put in the all-time GOAT list had they fucked around and won that chip that year, because they would have gave him all the credit for holding it down during the year.
But to answer the question that you pose on the slide.
So thank you, by the way.
Both questions. And I'll start with the last one first, just because I think it's an easier question. Without Harden, I think as long as everyone else is healthy, Joel Embiid. Without Harden, they're still a playoff team. So it's one of those who we would have to see the matchup, yada yada yada, type of deals. With Harden, contender. I think that's still the range. Well, without, you're just making the playoffs.
I think the Harden thing is done. He's obviously dug his heels in. He's not going to play.
Oh yeah, no. I'm trying to be fair and also positive, because it is basketball, and if it's not a personal thing between him and Joel, that pick and roll is going to get you to the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. And not for nothing, we're both old enough to remember toxic team coming back and then being like, your whole argument last year was, this isn't the first toxic team that might stay together. Like, you know what I mean? So
and shout out to Joel, because he's done a great job of, like, hey, look.
Shout out to Joel in general, because that dude's biggest problem, people's biggest problem with him is that he's a regular ass dude that wants to stay home, play his video games, and not be part of this bullshit. You know what I mean? He goes to work, he has his folks, his people, and then that's what it is. Let me play my video games.
They hate him because he embraces the WWE of it all, right? He becomes the character when he puts the uniform on. And he's going to taunt, and he's going to engage with the fans, and he's going to do all this other stuff. But then afterwards, he's going to, I don't know if he still does this, but he's going to, like, hit Rihanna up on Twitter, and he's going to play his video games. So, like, that's why they hate him. But it's like, shout out to him, because he's dealt with the Ben Simmons situation, and I thought he handled that well, and I think he's handling this well. Like, and that's
and I feel for the Sixers fans, because now they have to deal with rumors of Joel wanting out, which is just rough, because it's kind of like, wait, we didn't want this bullshit just as much as you didn't want this bullshit. You know what I mean? Like,
And to be fair, if he wanted out, he would have every excuse at this point because it's
Yeah.
like, dude, like, what are we doing? You traded one toxic guy for another one,
a super toxic guy, and it's more fucked up because now we're going through what the Sixers had to deal with all those years, and hearing all these Ben Simmons is ready to be that player he's supposed to be, shit as Nets fans, and all we can do is hope for the best. And now we're us, instead of looking at Sixers fans and talking shit, we're looking at each other like we just switched problems. like it's the same shit. Like,
well, and as you know, I was on wax. I said, do not trade for Ben Simmons, please. Like if we're gonna get rid of James Harden, give me somebody I can rely upon.
But the fair trade thing, no, there's no such thing as a fair trade with James Harden because the same poison pill that we had, the fairest trade was the trade we made because we traded equal problems. And I feel like that was fair. You know what I mean? Like the only difference is why it comes off as unfair is because James Harden has played great for the Sixers and Ben Simmons hasn't played. like that's why it's not fair.
It's not that he hasn't played bad; he just hasn't played.
Yeah. So a fair trade now,
in the 15 combined games that he's played for us, he's been all right.
Fucking the only team I'm seeing is the Clippers, man. And not to be funny, why the fuck would the Clippers want your bullshit? Because worst case scenario, to build up everything,
because they desperately need a point guard. That's one.
I understand needing a point guard, but I would go with Russell Westbrook over him for one reason, is because Russell Westbrook, when shit hits the fan, will still keep playing. The second, and it's going to happen, Kawhi can't play and Paul George can't play, this motherfucker won't be able to play.
Right. He's going to say, I'm out. Oh, I want to win. They're not trying to win, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's going to be the same thing.
And then this wasn't the LA team I wanted to be on. I actually wanted to be on the Lakers.
Right. Even though you never mentioned it. Yeah, exactly. Same with Philly. He clearly said Brooklyn was his number one spot. But it was like, oh, no, I always wanted to go to Philly, but I knew it wasn't going to be
No, and now he's doing the same thing. Sorry for hitting the mic. Now he's doing the same thing. And now Philly wasn't always his destination to get with Daryl Morey, who he now has beef with. Like, we're supposed to forget 2 fucking years ago, you asshole. Like, the rest of us adults, you could fool the kids because 2 years ago is a long part of their life and they were in a different grade and all that shit. The rest of us adults that just live are old enough to remember you wanting to team up with Daryl Morey. So at least there was that thread of maybe he's telling the truth about the Sixers. Now you're an asshole saying you want to go home to LA, to Cali, and all this other shit. Where was this?
I wanted to always go home. Your 3 teams was Brooklyn. And if I remember correctly, it was Brooklyn 1, Miami 2, Philly 3. So don't give me this nonsense about, oh, I always want to go to Philly. Oh, no. Now I always want to go to LA.
Home. Hold on. You always wanted to go home. Why the fuck do we have Ben Simmons? I like Paul George, you son of a bitch. like, what the fuck? What? Like, that's how I feel about this now. It's because it's like one of those things where it's like, hold up. Because, and just to say it now on Nets propaganda, right? I hope Ben Simmons proves me wrong. I've been saying that ever since we traded for him. All my criticism, I want to be proved wrong. I say that to Brett all the time in different aspects of sports. Hold on, call me a hater. I'll be happy if all you motherfuckers do a lap around me about how wrong I am. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to see players hurt. Even if I don't like you, I don't want to see you hurt. And I want to see greatness, right? I want to beat the greatness. I want my team to be better. I want James Harden to stay on the Sixers. I want the Nets and the Sixers to be in the playoffs again, to play each other. Because we got robbed of the beef. You know what I mean? All the beefs. Because apparently since we moved to Brooklyn, it's just us doing this with the Sixers, like, fuck you, no, fuck you, no, fuck you. And every time it feels like it's getting that fever pitch, it just dissipates. And then it builds back up.
That's why they need to bring back divisions, bring back rivalries. But that's just me.
There's no divisions. We don't need divisions. Their divisions exist.
Do they?
Exactly. We don't need them.
That's why we don't have rivalries, though.
No, we have rivalries. I don't know about you, bro. Like, we just talked about Knicks Nets, Knicks Celtics. Celtics Nets hasn't gone away or dissipated. Since the trade, it's like every fucking game we go through a whole history of the Nets and the Celtics.
Yeah, but you know what it is now? It's more player driven. Like so I was at that Philly game when Ben first played, right? And I texted like, yo, man, I can't wait for the playoffs. This is awesome. Like that Philly fans, like just the boos every time he touched the ball and everything. And then Nick Claxton, that was like his coming out game. Because I remember they were talking so much trash about Nick Claxton. Like, yo, who's this guy thinking he's playing against Joel Embiid? Da, da. And by the end of the game, they're like, yo, that Claxton kid's pretty good. You know what I mean? Like that game, I was like, yeah, bro, this is what it's all about. Like, this is what you want. But that's all player driven. If Ben Simmons wasn't on our team and James Harden wasn't on their team, it wouldn't have been no beef. It was simply because of the thing. Even Nets and Celtics, that's only because Kyrie. The Celtics aren't
No,
going
it's not
to.
only because Kyrie. The trade happened and then Kyrie happened. And
No,
not to
no. What I'm
mention,
saying is, if we go to Boston, they're not going to boo us this year.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
You don't think so? I mean, not like
I
they're not going to boo us like they were.
That Celtics is just a game. I can only go off my life, right? And since the Antoine Walker Kenyon Martin rivalry, the team's at. So 20 years ago is where I'm starting.
No, I get I get what you're
saying.
And
I went to games. I went to games in MetLife, not MetLife, Continental Era, whatever.
The Continental / Izod / whatever.
Yeah. I went to games there in the dying days, so right before the move to Brooklyn, when no one was checking for us. And I went to Celtics games then. And it's different. It's just like if I had to choose one.
I agree with you. I think for Celtics, Nets fans are always going to have animosity towards the Celtics.
Oh no, I mean the Celtics fans that even showed up. This was before the trade, and they were talking shit and booing hard, cheering their team on in New Jersey. And since we moved to Brooklyn, it's even more intense. Yes, Kyrie amplified that, but the idea that they're just not going to care about us, they always want to embarrass us.
Yeah, that's probably because we usually kick their ass.
See, you can't even not talk shit. That's my point. Like
yes. I'm just saying
the Sixers is more recent. The Sixers is more player driven because it started in our come up year in the baby Brooklyn Nets year with D.O.P.E and Karis LeVert and all them, and the fuck you Ben Simmons chants, the fuck Hulu chants in the Barclays, one of the best, most electric 4-1 series I've ever been a part of, and then it amplified because we picked up some stars, and then the stars got traded in between the teams. So now we're in a weird spot with the Sixers. But like that's the more recent one. That's the one that's more driven by the players. The Kyrie is added to the chapter, right? That adds on to this longer chapter, this longer story between Boston. That's how I feel, though. I'm just wondering.
I mean, I hope you're right. I like rivalry. Again, you know how excited I get for Ravens Week. Like rivalries make sports fun, and for an NBA that's struggling to find a way to make the regular season matter, like, bro, if you bring back the importance of divisions, that goes a long way because now you can't just BS those games. Those games are important. I think about a couple of years ago when the Celtics, Sixers, Nets, and Knicks were all good. Imagine if only one of them could win the division and get a top 4 seed. That season would have been amazing because you would have had to fight for the division crown. I remember we lost games on purpose, and we just let Philly get the number 1 seed because it didn't matter. We knew we were going to be the number 2 seed. Imagine if we had to win those games so that we don't be the 4 seed. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like when winning your division actually means something, it creates that drama already, no matter who the players are, no matter what the circumstances are, because you all have to fight for something. If it doesn't matter, then unless it's a fan thing or unless it's a player thing, it's probably going to fizzle out after a while. That's all I'm saying. So I agree with you. I just think you make the divisions, make winning your division mean something, and you will get those natural rivalries again. All right. Speaking of rivalries,
we kind of already talked about all this.
The Celtics.
This is what happens when I don't know what the slides are because we kind of already touched on all this shit in a sideways manner.
It's okay. There's more slides after this. We're good. Yeah, we did kind of talk about this. So let's just talk about. I truly believe that they can be great. I gotta see it. There's a lot of new pieces. I think not having a true center is gonna hurt them, especially again in the East when you're talking about Joel Embiid, when you're talking about Brook Lopez and Giannis, when you're talking about Bam Adebayo. Like in the Eastern Conference, you need bigs, and they still are a big team, but to not have like a true center, I think might hurt them. And it's one of those things to me. That's why I think that trade was so weird, where it's like, yo, we got to replace Marcus Smart. Everybody, as soon as Drew Holiday was available, I think everybody and their mother said, "Oh yeah, Boston needs to trade for him." That's might be an upgrade. No offense to Marcus Smart, But to get rid of Time Lord to do it, it's like, wow, I feel like you traded one problem for another. So that's just me. Again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But that's going to be an interesting dynamic of how does that work once they don't have that true center. I still think they're a top 2 team in the East. I still think this team is going to be a formidable opponent. I think Drew Holiday is exactly what they need. Because no offense to Marcus Smart, I think he does what Marcus Smart does, but better in terms of the point guard aspect of it. Some people disagree with that. Some people think that Drew Holiday is a shoot first point guard, but I still think he's enough of a point guard to get Jaylen Brown and get Jason Tatum into their spots so that the offense can run smoother. And if nothing else, he is just a better scorer than Marcus Smart is. So even if he's not going to be the quote unquote quintessential point guard, I think he will be a third scorer that you got to, account for more than you would account for with Marcus Smart. So I love the Drew Holiday acquisition. I just wonder if they gave up a little bit too much to get him.
I just don't. I like Drew. I said everything. I've already said everything about the Celtics. I feel like I don't want to repeat myself too much. The only thing that I haven't really touched on is because I completely forgot about it, which tells you how highly I think about it. Is Kristaps, because in my brain, and you're like, how? Because you brought it up. That's my point. In my brain, it was them losing Marcus Smart and they gained nothing. Like that, that's how I remembered it. Just being honest with you guys. That's how much I think of Kristaps Porzingis at this point. Because besides the Knicks thing, and I'm not trying to trash the Knicks, it just wasn't an ideal situation after a certain point. But the fact that this dude couldn't have success with Luka, I think that was one of the more indications of where this guy is when it comes to franchise pieces. So I feel like Kristaps is just a guy now to build off of the last pod we recorded. You're just a jag, bro. You're a jag. Like you're not a unicorn. In fact, you are a stereotype at this point. Because at one point, the stretch 4 Euro guy was an outlier, and now, dude, your archetype of a player is everywhere. So what does Kristaps do that other players can't do? Only thing I know about Kristaps that makes him unique is that apparently his brother talks a lot of shit, which gives drama to whatever market he's playing for at that time. Other than that, and obviously the Celtics aren't going to put up with his bullshit too long if he has any bullshit left, because it's been a while since he's been in the New York market for me to care about. Chemistry is big. But this team, that's been their problem. They're good enough to get to the playoffs, and then it seems like their chemistry is off. Me and you talked last year about the two important pieces, Tatum and Brown, never really seeming like the duo that they're supposed to be. And that's more maybe us reading into too much shit. It's basketball, so it's easy to read into a play style and give it attributes that it may not have. Like sometimes people think me and you are having a way more heated argument because it's like the fifth time me and you are arguing about something, but it's the first time we're recording it. So me and you will start screaming, but then again, it's like we're not really arguing. It's not like we're mad. We're just frustrated because we're talking about whatever. So I feel like that could be us reading too much into a relationship of the locker room that we are not privy to.
Well, see, so I guess I've always looked at it as, and some people have looked at this the same way. I don't think it's a relationship issue. I just think their games don't complement each other, right? They kind of basically have the same game where they're both ISO players. They're not going to get other players involved. And it's like, okay, that's not necessarily good to have too many of those guys on the same team. Somebody's got to be the guy that can facilitate or at least make other people better. If it's the your turn, my turn show every time, that does that's proven to not work. You know what I mean? So that I think that's more what it is than the actual relationship part of the chemistry. It's just the chemistry of how do these pieces fit. So again, that's why I said even with Drew, there are some people that don't think it's going to fit because they're saying, well, Drew's more of a scoring point guard than a quintessential point guard. But I truly do think he's enough of a quintessential point guard to help these guys get them into. I'll say too as well. There's a reason why they were so good when they had Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie, because the system was different. The system was the ball goes through the point guard. It was like this weird hybrid system of ball dominant point guard, but everybody else is player movement, ball movement. So as they're running, as they're dribbling, everybody else is off ball and everything else. As Brown and Jason Tatum got better and more influential in the offense shifted to we'll give the ball to them. And I think that's where it's kind of hit their plateau, where I think they need to go back to that. If they could play more off ball and let somebody else regulate the offense and get them the ball in their spots, I think that'll be much better. And we'll see, especially with a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, now you're adding another layer to that. Because I think at this point, asking Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to add that to their games, they're obviously not going to do that at this point. They're both been in the league like 7 years now. They're still young. They're still only 25, so they haven't hit their prime yet. But I feel like their prime is just them even being even better scorers than they already are. Like, so I don't know. I don't know if they're going to become Magic Johnson overnight. Like, I don't know.
I mean, Jason Tatum talks a lot of shit for somebody that has very few accolades in the league. Like your point stands, because I saw a meme. It was like Jason Tatum year one or year two. It showed his stats. It's like 5 years later, this is what he's accomplished, and it had nothing there. Like it was like the same stats. So it's one of those. He's one of those players where it's like, I think he's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to throw shade at Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown too. He's better than I thought he was. I was one of those guys that thought his ceiling was like 2-3 years ago, and he's gotten better since then. So I feel like the Drew Holiday piece might be the piece they need. And because they, like what you said, they need the ball handler. The piece they needed was Kyrie Irving. Let's be real. Like they just couldn't figure it out as an organization. Kyrie wasn't the right, personality that they needed, but he was the exact talent they needed. So it's frustrating from an objective standpoint, because they had it. They had the team. They just couldn't keep the pieces happy, essentially. And it's funny because I wonder if they made the move with Brad 4 years ago and convinced Kyrie to sign, if the Celtics would actually have a ring by now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I think Brad's system was working. I think that team was just young, and the media got that's what it. When we talk about we have the whole culture talk all the time. I think that's part of culture. Right? Do you let the outside noise infiltrate the locker room? Because I think that's what happened. They were a young team that was winning, and they let the newspaper clippings get to their heads of, oh, you don't necessarily need a Kyrie or somebody else. Y'all got there without him. And it's like, yeah, but y'all got there without him because you were the second seed with him. And so you only won one road game that whole playoff run. So it's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Well, that's revisionist history at this point. But yeah, I'm excited to see what this team's going to be, because in retrospect, Drew and Kristaps should be the missing pieces. We'll see. We'll see. It's still going to come down to, do they play the way they're supposed to play, or is it the same old stuff of just Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown show? Because as good as those guys are, I think we saw that's only going to get you so far. So, all right, the world champion Denver Nuggets. I'm gonna keep saying that. Shout out to what's the name? Noah Lyles. The world champion Denver Nuggets are looking to defend their world championship, as they look to repeat. They did. We never talked about that, but like, that was the stupidest shit ever. I'm sorry.
It's especially with the NBA, who's been international for 30 years. Like, listen, if this was the NFL, it's a little bit more of a true statement. Even in the MLB, it's a little bit more of a true statement, even though the MLB is pretty international at this point too. It is one of those things where it's like, tell me you don't know shit about the sport besides that the teams are based in North America. Because I'm the nerd that defends Euro players all the time, and I've been defending Euro players since the Euro player died in the mid-90s. And since then, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but besides the guy you have on here, the multiple-time MVP, now inarguably a top 10 center of all time statistically, is not from America. The other really great player that's currently in the league, that's in the same conference as him, also not from America and from a different country than him. So that's two international players.
Giannis.
If I go back to the Spurs, hold on. If I forgot about the whole Spurs dynasty. Besides Kawhi, who is from America, you had Tim Duncan, who isn't originally, obviously, is what I'm saying. Tony Parker, who isn't. Manu Ginobili, who isn't, and these 3 guys are from 3 different continents. Asshole. So the whole the Olympic, yeah, we get it. The Olympics, the FIBA stuff. Again, NBA players all take part in FIBA because all of them are from different countries, and America loses because some of these countries have teams full of NBA players too. So I just feel like,
and by the way, I just want to say this too, because people keep bringing up, oh, that's not how it works in soccer. As you know, I don't know shit about international soccer. You're more the expert than I am. But even I know, idiots, it's not the same as soccer because it's not the same way. Not one league is head, shoulders, knees, and toes better than another league. There might be different leagues that might
there's
be
like
better.
5 leagues that everybody says is the top. It's the Premier League, La Liga in Spain, Serie A in Italy, League One in France, and then Bundesliga in Germany.
Yeah,
and the only reason England is that high, I shouldn't say the only reason, is money. Like the people rank the Premier League number 1 because ain't nobody got the money like they got. There's rules in Germany against money like that, even though, as you know, apparently you could make bank in Germany, so it's relative money. And La Liga, motherfucker, Brett don't know, but he knows Barcelona. You know what I mean? Like, he knows what a Barcelona do. And to Brett's point, thank you for bringing this up, because those 5 leagues that are world leagues, like international world league, like Americans and Latin Americans play in those leagues in Europe. And I say that because also Turkey, which isn't a top 5 league, but I have to throw them in this conversation, and you'll know in a second, and Portugal. So 7 European leagues that are soccer leagues have basketball counterparts. So if you like Barcelona FC, there's a basketball club Barcelona. If you like Besiktas in Istanbul, and the reason I know what they are is because my point guard, Darren Williams, during the lockout season, went to that team. It's the same Turkish team Allen Iverson played for. Besiktas is one of the big 3 teams in Istanbul in the Turkish league. You see how all this is interconnected. What's his face? Luka. Didn't he play for Real Madrid? Didn't he win the EuroLeague MVP playing for fucking Real Madrid? Real Madrid. Sorry,
I'm about to say Real Madrid. Yeah,
my jersey came out in my anger. But that's the frustrating part about
this. And not only that, right? Again, I don't know international soccer, so I looked it up because you know me. I like to be factually right when I look this shit up. So I just looked it up. I said, who are the top 10 best soccer players in the world? Now, again, this is one list; it's subjective, but in the top 10 that I saw somebody's list, there was 5 different leagues represented, including the MLS because Messi, right? So I'm like, okay, where do they do that at in basketball, where you could put the top 10 and there's going to be different leagues represented? No, the top 50 best players at least are in the NBA. Like,
no, that's the crazy part, bro. Because you're 100% right. It's a completely different beast. Context matters here, right? The NBA blew up the sport of basketball. Soccer existed over a century ago, and may have started in England or wherever. I don't want to say the wrong country, but while there was revolution sports-wise happening in England and Italy, mind you, there's wars that happened that hinder growth in certain areas because that's how old the sport is. It might have been World War I or World War II. Because while that's happening, that's how Argentina was growing. That's how the Brazil game was growing. Like, there's certain aspects of this shit that, like, MLS is the youngest one. The only reason that we're on the list is because Messi is here now. And mind you, me and Brett are older than MLS. MLS's growth has been exponential. All that to say is the NBA went from not having really any international players of note. This all happened in our lifetime. Since the 90s, the growth of the international player is something that we now discuss as, is this a threat to domestic players, to American street ballers, that this used to be their goal, but now they might be the ones going overseas because the Euros,
because the best in the world are in the NBA. If you are the best in the world,
can ball.
Yeah, if you're the best in the world, you're playing in the NBA. And if you're not playing anyway in the NBA, it's probably because you're some 15-year-old phenom, aka Victor Wembanyama. So as soon as you turn 18, guess where you're going to go? The NBA. Like,
and mind you, the only league that is an international league that isn't really taken seriously, and in all due respect, is China. They're the ones that the competition is nowhere near the other ones. Because guess what? You know what? Our old players, they go and play overseas and they find out real quick it's real ball. Like Maccabi Tel Aviv is on the S Network. So if you're a Nets fan, you probably caught a Maccabi Tel Aviv game once or twice. And Maccabi is one of these franchises, like they could be anywhere. They've had a long storied history. They have their own history of great players, and not all their great players are former NBA players. And I say that because before the deloading and the Kenny Atkinson era of the Nets, I wanted the Nets to sign Mila Teodosic because he was unanimously considered the greatest player to not be in the NBA. He had multiple EuroLeague MVPs, so he's not a scrub. And he joined the NBA later in life. He was in his 30s by the time he joined the NBA as a point guard. And you know what we found out? It was too late for him because he could barely make a rotation. And for years, he was considered the best never to be in the NBA. So compare that. Dude was like 30. He was like not old at all by the time he joined. And cross-reference that to the Luka Doncic's of the world. I don't know how you're going to say this is an American game when the best player on the champions is very much not American, and props to him because he's very much himself, and I love to see it. I don't need a dude trying to
and just to put a bow on this, right? And here's how stupid that argument is. So even Noah Lyles or whatever his name is, okay, Olympic event. So you're telling me that same event with those same runners, if you just change the fucking names on the jersey, instead of USA put Washington, instead of Jamaica put Queens, instead of China put San Francisco, instead of Mexico put Dallas, instead of Cuba put Miami, if you're telling me you just change the name of the jersey from a country to a city, you're no longer the fastest guy in the world now? You're no longer the world champion? Like, that's how dumb that is. That's how dumb that.
I didn't want to. I kept saying Euro because I didn't want to be so ignorant to mix up their countries. Joker's Serbian, and Luka Doncic is Slovenian. Again, this has nothing to do with Victor Wembanyama, who's French. There's nothing to do with the Greek freak, who's a champion already. Me and Brett are sparsing greatness here. Brett hates him because it's sports. Brett hates him because he has a personal attachment to somebody he said he hurts. It is actually sports at the end of the day.
Even if I didn't, fuck you. You hurt my team and we could have
won. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's sports related, right? Like, he never said, you know who's not good because he's not from America? The Greek freak. You know who's been called the Greek freak since he was 15? It's so annoying because I'm the guy. I had to convince I don't want to say old head because it sounds disrespectful, but like older than me heads in my family, Knicks fans, that Luka Doncic was going to be the truth because they just didn't believe it. And that was already how many years ago? And mind you, we might be making a pod soon about Luka because what does he want? Just to be fair and keep it a buck across the league.
Well, right? Matter of fact, we'll get to Dallas in a minute. But
cool. But I'm sorry to make this whole thing because it'll be repetitive. We talked about the Nuggets winning. Me and you aren't Joker haters. Sorry to all the people that come. I know.
By the way, also shout out to Joel Embiid, also not from America.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Mr. This is an international.
The current reigning MVP.
It's not, he's just another dude from Brooklyn, I guess. It's so annoying because you know what's more annoying about this as a fan that's defended the international players forever, and now I felt like we were past it. That comment is so 20 years old. It's like telling me you're one of those guys like the NBA was better in the 90s, like type without telling me, because what you said makes no sense. Like none of us, for the most part, as NBA fans, even the ones that used to call it the Euro players that still do out of habit, don't view all international players as others anymore. They're just players. Like it's cool. Fucking Andrea Bargnani was a first overall pick. Like I don't. And that's way old. That's old now. Like Louis Scala.
Kristaps was the 4th pick in the draft.
I'm just gonna start naming international players that had storied careers.
Because football's about to be on in 30 minutes, and we got some more slides to do. So let's get back to the Nuggets
on Sunday. Obviously,
yeah, we're recording this on Sunday. Anyway, the Nuggets are interesting because First of all, they were just unstoppable last year. However, I do think they lost some like important key pieces. Like those role players are important. Obviously, they still have Joker. Obviously, they still have Jamal Murray. Obviously, they still have Aaron Gordon. So like they have their quote unquote big three. But the West got better. And so I'm interested in your thoughts on, do you think they can repeat at least to get back to the finals?
Yeah. When I was doing my little list thing, and I'll keep it a buck with everybody like I usually do. This is one of those years where I was like, I have no fucking clue. There's been enough movement, and every year when we think there's some team that looks stacked, they're the ones that blow up, and we talk about how terrible they were in retrospect, right? But there's two things that I feel strong about: the Nuggets and the Suns. If they stay healthy, that's the West, and obviously the Warriors are in the conversation. But both conferences look top heavy, but and that sounds condescending, but I feel like they're top heavy, but the next seven after the top three, they're not scrubs. You can't just sleep on them. But I feel like both conferences are top heavy until we're proven otherwise. In the West, it's the Nuggets and the Suns. It's like the Nuggets and the Suns are my two choices to come out right now. And mind you, I keep saying, and the Warriors, because they exist. As long as Steph Curry's on the court, I don't want to hear people going, well, they're not a threat. Anybody that can drop 50 and a quarter is a threat at every single point of the season. So until the Warriors are not in the playoffs, and because when all their players are healthy, they're the Warriors until further noted. And this is me saying all this because the Clippers can never stay healthy. If the Clippers are healthy, I don't know what we're talking about yet. So yeah, I have to believe in the Nuggets because until Joker falls off, guess what? That's the guy.
Yeah, he might be the best in the world right now.
No, the funniest part is,
that's why he's the world champion. I might have put it
in as my finals, or I might not have. I might have put the Suns in, but either way, it doesn't matter. There's a very real possibility the finals is the Nuggets and the Bucks. And this guy that's saying that it's an American game is going to have a real hard argument when he realizes the two faces of the finals are two international players.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's the best in the world right now. So he's the defending world champion. So,
I mean, if the reason we don't do a World Cup in basketball, like a World Club Cup, like soccer will have the clubs, not just the countries, play in a World Cup. Cool. The Champions League shit. The reason we don't do that is because
we don't need to.
Yeah, man. Do you know how, sure, there will be a Barcelona or a Real Madrid or some other one or two European clubs that might beat an NBA team. You know who they're not beating? The fucking Nuggets.
Yeah, because they're the world champions. Yes, you're right.
Barcelona might put up some harsh points against, Barcelona might beat the Hornets. Who knows? Barcelona might beat the Kings. Probably not.
They're not beating
Barcelona's not beating the Suns. Listen, man, I have a lot of faith in MLS clubs going up against certain European clubs. You know who MLS All-Stars aren't beating? Anybody in the Premier League.
All right. So in Phoenix, apparently getting Kevin Durant was not enough for new Suns owner Matt Ishbia. The Suns trade for Bradley Beal and trade away controversial center DeAndre Ayton in the offseason. The Suns have a lot of firepower, and in the DeAndre Ayton trade, they did get some much-needed depth, but it still remains to be seen how this team will function with their new pieces. Will the Suns rise to the occasion, or will this firebird burn to ash?
Here's another thing, bro. Keep it a buck. I forgot Bradley Beal got moved. He's one of those players where I'm like, he's in Washington forever in my brain. I don't care what anyone says. He's a wizard.
So you had confidence in the Suns even before, even without even realizing.
Yeah, man. Listen, I'll talk shit. I'll cheer against Kevin Durant winning a ring now because I'm petty, but I'm not delusional into thinking that Kevin Durant and Devin fucking Booker is a threat. They added Bradley Beal, and Bradley Beal is one of those players that me and you have been a fan of. We've never denied how good he is, right?
Again, I was on the record. I wanted us to do a 3-team trade.
I know. I swear to God, if you keep bringing up this goddamn 3-team trade, it's never going to happen.
It should have happened.
No, anyway. It should have happened. Bradley Beal is one of those players. I don't think he's good enough to be the guy on a contender.
I know. That's why he would have been the third player on the Nets. I know. He would have been the third guy.
You done? Because the Wizards are just going to give him to us.
They could have had Brent Simmons.
Thank you for saying it out loud again, so you could hear how ridiculous it is. But anyway,
I'm sorry. Because who did they get for Bradley Beal?
It's not important. You're going backwards. You're going backwards. You're going backwards.
I just want to make sure.
I don't even remember who they got for Bradley Beal. I'm assuming it's 18 future picks or
No,
something
they got Chris Paul.
Chris Paul is according to some of our friends on the Bench Mob podcast, is a top over Magic Johnson, depending on who you ask.
Oh, okay.
Not us.
We're not doing this. He was a guest speaker and he should never speak again.
No, that's disrespectful. You talk, bro. We all have different opinions. I say outlandish shit depending on the subject. All I'm saying is there's some people on our friends, the Bench Mob podcast, that rank Chris Paul higher than Magic Johnson, which means that
sorry.
Chris Paul
he said no.
should
To be
lead the
fair,
Wizards. Hold on, should lead the Wizards to a championship this year. Oh wait, he's a Warrior.
He's a Warrior.
Oh man.
To be fair, he said it's his favorites. Okay, all right. If it's your favorite point guard, it's fine.
I'm kidding, bro. I hope, hopefully, because some people
shout out Devin Harris, I guess.
I definitely some people definitely read comments online and just immediately assume it's the most vitriolic, venomous tone to your comments, because sometimes it's just like, oh, that's like, because like especially when sports, when you're like, that's a sus sports opinion, people act like I'm saying everything you've ever said is a lie. You know what I mean? Like,
you put Chris Paul over Magic Johnson, I think everything you said is a lie. No, it wasn't even Chris. It wasn't even Chris Paul. It was
Darren Williams.
Who was it?
Darren Williams.
Yes.
Darren Williams.
Yeah, he put Darren Williams over Magic Johnson. And I was like,
it is personal top 5. We don't want people coming for him. But anyway, the Suns, yeah. I mean, they should.
Shout out to the Bench Mob podcast, by the way.
Hell yeah, man! That's why I brought him up, bro. I interact with him all the time on social. Like, I ain't bringing him up. We were on a Bench Mob podcast a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think like last year. Yeah.
No, it wasn't last year. You may have been last year. I haven't been on it in a while.
Oh yeah, I did last year for the mock drafts, and we did like a couple years ago. Right.
Mm-hmm. I forget what we were even talking about on mine. Mine was a few years ago. That's
to answer the question, I think I'm with you. The Suns have to be one of the favorite. Again, that's a really weird mix. Apparently, Devin Booker is going to play point guard, which I think is okay because they tried that last year and it worked out for them. So I'm kind of okay with it. We'll see. You know how I feel. Kevin Durant's healthy. They got it. They might be the team to beat.
And he's going to be healthy, and he's definitely going to be balling out before the All-Star break. And then after the All-Star break, we'll see how available he is come when the games matter, because it is very interesting when, as a Nets fan, that everybody says that what I'm saying and that they weren't a hater. But now that I'm saying it, and he's on a different team, about how old he is, about how, okay, the regular season don't matter. Okay,
well, no, my thing is,
not even you. I don't mean you. But how many people say the regular season don't matter? And if the regular season don't matter, what the fuck are you repeating Kevin Durant's stats to me for? You know what I mean? Like, pick one or the other. Either this don't matter, or his greatest season ever. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't matter. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you can't say the regular season don't matter, and then when you want to make an argument about how great this dude is, the regular season is all you got because he hasn't been healthy in the playoffs. You know?
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, look, to me, I think he's had some fluke injuries that, like, it's like that could have happened to anybody. And I get what you mean by, because I'm just going to give you credit. You're saying, well, that's not how bodies work. If you're hurt, you're hurt. It doesn't matter how. But my thing is,
I'm the same age as KD, dude, and and I'm sure y'all that only seen my head in these videos have noticed that maybe it's a little bit less fat than it's been lately, right? So I still have a huge head. It's always going to be a big fat head, but I'm 34, same age as KD. My back has been hurting for 2 years, 2 whole years. I don't have a bunch of therapists around me, so sure. But in my losing weight to help my back, now my knees are hurting. Why? Because I'm in my 30s. And all the work I'm doing to take the load off my back, literally, is put pressure on my knees. And I tell you that because me and Brett were talking about this. Basketball shoes aren't made for walking, even though that's what poor people do. You only have a certain amount of shoes, and your most athletic ones are what you're going to use, right? The other day, my knees were so sore, I just stopped short because my cat was trying to kill me, and I didn't want to kick her or trip. And that short stop, aka a movement, if you're playing basketball, would be common every couple of seconds, hurt my knees to the point where if I was running and I wasn't walking, I feel like I would have tore something. That's how much it hurt. And all I did was walk 5 miles, a couple of jogs, but I wasn't sprinting like these players are. All that to say is somebody like Ben Simmons, who's dealing with a back injury, if he tears his knee and he's in his 30s coming back from that back injury, it's because, as we've said all the time, other injuries compound. Other injuries pop up because you're recovering from this other injury and you're working so hard to not put pressure on this one part of your body, you're overworking another part of your body. That's what humans do. Sorry, yeah. Everybody listening, man, it's going to happen. You're going to get hurt. We're all going to die one day. Like that's the reality of the situation. None of us are going to be as young. This is the youngest you'll ever be right now. Right. You'll never be younger than you are right now.
Right. Well, again, because I'll talk about the Clippers later. I just think for KD, I think his injury history is a little bit different from like a Kawhi or a Paul George. I guess my point is I'm more confident he'll be healthy than those guys. Because
I'm just saying he's skinny as all hell. You had leg injuries. And as somebody that, I swear to God, I for having terrible back pain, I mean, like pain I wouldn't wish on anybody, the knee shit is brand new to me. Like brand new. Like I don't like, I couldn't imagine playing how I play in sports now ever again. I'm a power forward type that bangs in the paint. Like between my back and my knees, I'm just like, okay, I should probably never play basketball again. How I instinctually play basketball. How I played football, a linebacker, fullbacker type. It's over. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where like it's just reality. Like basketball is a young man's sport, like no other. Like that's why the old players are shooters. You can't be too old, put too much pressure on your knee. You can do a little jog and post up in a corner, though.
That's a fact. That's a fact. All right.
Man, the hottest team in the play-in tournament this year. Let's go.
Here you go. The Mavericks have a very critical season ahead.
Very critical.
After a disappointing end to last season, the Mavericks hope to bounce back into playoff contention this year. But the West seems stacked, especially at the top. How far can the Mavs go? The Mavs are interesting. Here's the thing with the Mavs. They played in a lot of very close games, and they lost like all of them. It's kind of like the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings were 11-0 last year in one-score games. They're 0-5 this year. It's one of those weird things where, like, yeah, Minnesota could be undefeated this year. Instead, they're 1-5, right? I think what the Mavericks did in the offseason was critical because they got better defensively, not exponentially better, but they got better, which I think can help in one-score games. And I think the chemistry between Luka and Kai are going to be important now that they have another year together. Because again, I think
breaking news: Grizzlies center Steven Adams will undergo season-ending surgery for a knee injury.
Damn.
Tell me if that shit isn't eerily prophetic. I was just saying about age, man, about knees. And Steven Adams is a dog, and it sucks. Not even being funny because Brett said it was one of his favorite teams, but Grizzlies are known for dudes like that. And that shit is depressing because you're like, oh, it's not John Moran. Tell me you don't know sports, man. Because that shit is
Steven is one of the leaders of that team.
He's damn near a coach.
Yeah, that's a big blow for them. But anyway.
It sucks, man. But sorry to cut you off, but that will help Dallas because I don't view Dallas as a threat in the West. But if they can be in the playoffs and not in the play-in, you don't want to see that backcourt in the playoffs.
And that's the point. I think a lot of what happened last year was all those games, like they never got blown out. That's the crazy thing. Like people act like, oh my God, they just fell off a cliff. No, they were in a bunch of one-score games. They just lost all of them. And a lot of it was that lack of chemistry. Who takes the last shot? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? Can we get a stop? So to me, it's one of those weird things. I think they're going to play in a lot of, one-score games again. And then it's a matter of, can they get that chemistry? Hey, who's going to take the last shot? If Luka's hot, give it to Luka. If Kai's hot, give it to Kai. If they're both hot, how do you determine who's the decoy, who's taking the last shot? Defensively, can you get that one stop that you need? So it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to be one of those weird teams where I feel like record-wise, they're either going to be really good or they're going to be really bad. Because because I think they are going to play in a bunch of those one-score games. and it's a matter of can you win them? If can you are you going to be the Minnesota Vikings of last year, or are you going to be the Minnesota Vikings of this year? Same team, just different results in terms of how they're coming out of these close games.
I mean, it's do or die time for both these guys, though. That's the irony of it, because I feel like it's unfair in certain senses, because this is a new team. For all the shit I gave you about the Nets, this isn't year one. This isn't year two. This is year one for them, right? Because you could tell after the trade is year zero. It's not fair to consider it a whole year. And mind you, me and Brett really do try to keep ourselves logically consistent. Like, I got on Brett about Mikal Bridges because, yes, it's not a full season, but it's after that trade, it's a long enough season to count it as real, right? So we have to take that for what it's worth, but now it's a real season. Now you got the tape. Now we got to see what you're going to do. So I want to give that dynamic Dallas duo this year, because if they start off slow, life ain't fair, but you got to start talking moving one of them. Because if they're in the hole to start the season, like, that's all you got as the Mavericks, as an organization, and you got to reload. You assume it would be Luka because of age and the position he plays and all that shit, and it should be Luka, the one you try to hold on to. I'm only saying it like that because I don't get what Luka's loyalty would be to the Mavericks. Sure, you might love Mark Cuban. I don't want to shit on Mark Cuban as an owner. As far as owners go, he seems a little bit more transparent than other guys. And he might have said some things you might not agree with or like in the past. But as far as owners go, he's far from evil, soulless owner. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't get that. I don't get Jerry Jones vibes, just to connect the other famous owner in his city, right? I don't get Jerry Jones vibes where we really get that slave owner mentality vibe from Jerry Jones. And Mark Cuban seems like the dude that just got rich and now he has a business. And hey, you want to work for me? You know what I mean? Like, he seems like a dude where if he doesn't like you, he's not going to draft you. But it'd be a real, like, I don't want you around, motherfucker. I'm in these offices. But they have their own whole set of cultural issues too that I'm kind of just glossing over in this moment in the building. All that to say is Dallas might look super different in 2 years. Dallas might be one of the worst franchises in 2 years. Or Dallas might be competing with this duo signing free agents in 2 years. This is one of the nexus points of the Dallas Mavericks. They've been running in place, it feels like, since Dirk left.
Yeah. And it's weird. So every year, especially in the West, for some reason, always in the Western Conference, there's that one team that's like, how are they like a top 3 seed? I feel like that could be Dallas. Again, only.
I just don't feel like that could be. I don't. I know.
No, I don't. What I'm saying is only, but what, and usually it's a team that like we don't even take seriously. It's like, oh, look, that's cute. Like a couple years ago when Utah was like a top 2 seed, nobody took Utah seriously, even though they were a top 2 seed. I think like that could be Dallas only because, like I said, if they're playing in a bunch of these one-score games and it's just a matter of closing the deal, okay, they might, again, they could be the Minnesota Vikings. They could be that team that's like, hey, they're, 25-2 in these one-score games, and that's why they're winning so much. When it's like, okay, but do we really think they're that good of a team, or are they just closing the deal this year? I don't know. Or they could be, be the 10 seed. You know what I mean?
Real quick, right? And this is based off last year's standings, just so you don't think I'm not doing anything tricky here. I'm just going to name the team. You say yay or nay if you think Dallas will finish better than them this year. Okay?
The answer is nay to all of that, but that's the point I'm making.
No, it might not. It might not, because do you think the Thunder are definitely better than Dallas?
Maybe not because they're young.
The Pelicans.
If I don't believe in Zion's health, so no.
The Timberwolves.
No.
All right, so they're at the 8th seed. Because I'm just gonna stop it there, because short of the Kings, who were the 3 seed last year, I don't know. I doubt you're gonna say the Nuggets, the Grizz, the Suns, the Clippers, the Warriors, the Lakers will be worse than the Mavs.
I don't know.
So I'm just all that just to point out to you right now. What we're really saying is, best case scenario, y'all are the 8th seed.
Well, no, again, I'm just going off of basketball history. There's always that one random Western. Again, last year was the Kings, right? Nobody saw the Kings being the 3 seed last year. You know what I mean? Like, there's always that random team that's like, how are they a top 3 seed? And all I'm saying is it could. I'm not saying it will be, but it could be the Mavericks, only because if you're telling me that they're going to play in nothing but down to the wire games, then it's like, okay, it's a matter of you win those games or not. You know what I mean? And usually teams like that, they don't go 500. They're either winning all of them or they're losing all of them.
And to quote a great dope blog philosopher named Brett, defense wins championships, and they don't got none. So
that's a fact. I ain't picking them to win a chip.
Oh, I know that. I'm just, but the I don't think they're on the Kings level.
Well, again, the Kings, ironically, were like one of the worst defensive teams in basketball last year.
Oh no, I'm just saying, but I don't think they're the team the Kings are.
Yeah, that's we'll see. That's what's all right. So now let's get to our picks for the Eastern Conference. You have the Celtics, the Bucks, Sixers, Knicks, Nets, Cavs, Heat, Hawks, Raptors, and Bulls. I basically have some of those same teams just in different order. I think the Cavs are going to be that surprise team in the East. I think the Cavs, they didn't necessarily fix their small forward issue, but they've added to it, and maybe that's good enough. We know defensively they're going to be good if they're healthy. We know Donovan Mitchell is probably one of the best players in the Eastern Conference now because the Eastern Conference just isn't as good. And so I think they're going to be one of those teams. They're going to get a lot of regular season wins just because defensively they're going to be good. And then again, they got closers. You know what I mean? Like they're going to be one of those teams. Like they're going to play hard every single night. So when other teams are taking nights off or they're, well, they can't really rest guys anymore. But when they're, teams are just not giving it their all, they're going to be that team that gives it their all every single night. And I think they're going to rack up regular season wins that way. Celtics, I still have there. The Sixers, I'm with you. I'm not going to count out the Sixers until I have a reason to. They still have a good team, even without James Harden. I think they still have a really good team. The Knicks, the Heat. I have the Nets a little bit lower than you do, but not by much, really. If we're talking about the standings, there's probably only be like a few game difference. I just don't believe, as you know, I just don't believe in the Nets this year.
Yeah, we're talking about the 6 through 8 seeds, guys. So I know the numbers aren't there. But after our top 4, that's when we're just playing because I feel like people are going to sleep on the Nets, which will allow us to stay in that relatively area of the playoffs. I feel like the Cavs won't get the benefit of the doubt like they did last year. People were sleeping on them, so that's just to explain why I got them dropping. I think they're going to be the one that is, oh shit, we've got to play the Cavs in the first round. And I feel like the Knicks, people are going to sleep on the Knicks. Well, they're the Knicks. Last year was a fluke, and they're still going to be good. I don't know if they're going to be great, but I think they're still going to be good. So,
interesting.
Like Jalen Brunson is the most underrated point guard in the Eastern Conference at this point. That dude put in work last year, and people are acting like it's just luck or something.
But that's why I don't think people want to sleep on the Knicks, though. You know what I mean?
I just feel like out of the Knicks and the Cavs, like you know what I mean, like the Cavs have I guess more bigger household names than the Knicks do, so I just feel like the Cavs.
I have the Magic getting into at least the play-in because I think they should be good. I don't think the Raptors are going to be good at all. Not only did you lose Fred VanVleet, you lost Nick Nurse. I don't know who they replaced him with. I forgot, but
man, I threw the Raptors in just because at the bottom of this list it was like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
I think the Magic should take a step up. Hawks, I don't want to take out Trae Young, so he should be there. And I think
you want to trade for Trae Young for our Nets, right? That's what you want.
Fuck that. And then the Bulls, honestly, I think the Bulls are too low, but they're another team that can't stay healthy, so I can't put them any higher.
I feel like the Magic or the Raptors, sure. Like I saw Magic. And it wasn't until I saw the Magic and you telling me the Magic that even made me second guess it. Because me and you, I don't know why we were talking about the Magic earlier this week. Really realizing they've been trashed since Dwight left, which just makes both of us feel old. Because the Magic always play the Nets hard. So I have a respect for the Magic that other fans won't have because for whatever reason, the Magic always kick the Nets' ass. Doesn't matter what our roster is, mind you. They just kick our ass.
They just kick our ass. That's a fact.
Bro, what Vucevic was a fucking Brook Lopez killer for years.
I mean, anyway. if Vucevic played the Nets every year, he'd be the GOAT. I mean, every game, he'd be the GOAT.
Fucking hell, man. Made Brook Lopez look like a scrub. Like, and it was just it was weird. It was one of those
Aaron Gordon, too. When Aaron Gordon played the Nets, he would go off. It's ridiculous. But
the Magic might be that team or, hey, man, like at some point.
I'm a Paulo Banchero fan. I think he's going to.
You're a Paolo Banchero truther. You've been telling me about that kid since before they drafted him, and then you're like, oh, why the Magic draft him? And it's like because they're the ones that suck, Brett. They're like a bad team is going to draft this kid. Like all of Brett's genius for football drafts, he turns back into a kid that's super emotional for the NBA. Because some of the shit he says is like, oh man, that shitty team drafted him. Yeah, Brett, that's how drafts work. Like,
yeah, because in the NBA, more than any other league, if you're on a bad
it's
team,
rigged. It's fucking rigged.
Well, yes,
John Wall, 13 years ago, should have been a goddamn net. He should have been a goddamn net. We draft Derek fucking Favors instead.
Here we go.
Just saying.
The NBA more than any other league, even though it's a star-driven league, which is weird, if you're on like one of those like teams nobody cares about, we'll never hear from you again. You know what I mean? So Paolo Banchero could be amazing if the Magic never make the playoffs, or never, not even never make the playoffs. If they're never like a top 5 seed, we might we might be sitting here 5 years like, oh shit, that's right, Banchero's still in the league. Like, because that's just how the NBA is for some reason. There's certain franchises you go there to die. It's just like, yeah.
But that's also part of the, it's the fans creating the culture, then the fans complaining about the culture they have fucking manifested through how they act. Because being Nets fans, as you hate, when you're a fan of a bad team and you pay attention to other bad teams, that's when you really become the nerd that loves the sport, because there's certain players you just are like, yo, his game though. And if you're a fan of you know what's funny? Celtics fans really don't fall into this category as much, because Celtics fans are more likely to watch other teams. I've noticed that. It's the culture of the Lakers fan. Mind you, we're from the East Coast, so I don't know what it's like out on the West. Just for the clarification there, but out here on the East Coast, the Celtics fans usually watch almost anything. The Lakers fans out here on the East Coast, they're the front runners. They only watch the top of the standings. Same goes for the Heat fans. Heat fans will watch the Heat and the other good teams. They ain't checking if you're shitty. And so when you got teams like the Bucks and the Sixers, I'll give Philly fans their props, because the Philly fans, they fucking watch their team. You're not like, oh yeah, I'm a Philly fan, you front runner. They ain't one in my lifetime. So it's one of those things. And then like obviously we don't get to talk about Knicks fans. They're literally one of the most loyal fan bases in all sports. But that's what it is. You have to break down who's the winners, right? I feel like the Bulls being so good in the 90s and then falling the fuck off after Jordan helped manifest this player culture. And then you got LeBron getting a bunch of shit for fulfilling his contracts but leaving, right? Because he never demanded a trade. So you have people like, oh, well, he won't stay with a team forever, so I'm just following. No one said you can't follow a player, but stop saying you only like watching good basketball. No, you like watching him. That's just fine. Because if you're a Spurs fan and you're not from San Antonio, that lets me know you like a certain quality of basketball. You like a really sound fundamental game. Because don't tell me you're a front-running Spurs fan and you're watching them just because they were winning, because they weren't even an exciting team when they were winning. So it's weird. Basketball fans are very strange. Like there are a bunch of like the Warriors.
Yeah, I feel like basketball more than any other sport, there's huge different groups. It's like the player fans, it's the art of the game fans, it's the nerd fans. More than other
street ball fans,
the street ball fans, like more than any other sport, it's the fan bases, even in itself, even in like team, you know what I mean? Even amongst Nets fans or whatever fans, there are segments, right?
Oh yeah, the front runner fans that are the player driven fans have dominated the culture the last 10 years. One, because LeBron was in every finals, but also the main foils of LeBron were the Spurs, who were the team people. So that kept LeBron as a bad guy to all the other segments, right? And then once the Warriors came up and had this ascension, they're completely different than the Spurs. The Warriors are for the fans that need excitement. They need the highlights. They want the names. And mind you, completely organic, because Monta Ellis and them boys were a decent team before they this fucking ridiculous era of the Splash Brothers. But the Splash Brothers got a whole generation of kids chucking shots. So they fit more into the Lakers fan that only likes watching the top, and because you had everyone yells Kobe for a reason. You know what I mean? Like It's whoever's on top fosters this type of fandom, and I feel like the Nuggets winning and the Bucks winning is going to foster like, hold on, man, like what you said, like that a mixture of these type of fans that like the purity of the sport. But when the IQ starts breaking down, you just got these players that are like, no, I'm one of the best on the planet, and I'm going to show you why I'm one of the best on the planet. So if these two teams and the Suns, I'll throw the Suns in there too, and the Heat are the ones that are now vying for the top, and they're kind of dictating the culture of the league the next couple of years. This Jimmy Butler Heat isn't the LeBron Wade Heat, so that they're going to foster a whole different, a more Spurs like uh, fan culture than they did 10 years ago when it was the big three Heatles. So that I'm sorry, but I feel like that's what it is. Whoever is the ones that are on top dictate what the front running culture is. Because let's be real, if the Nets would have won with the 7-Eleven era, we would have fostered the star chasing, just win at all costs type of moves. People would have just been selling off picks to get this star over here, and it would have been another arms race like we saw after LeBron went to the Heat.
I would have loved it, but whatever. Best in the West. Okay, we both have the Nuggets as a top seed. I have the Lakers at number 2. You have the Suns at number 2.
Fuck, do you have the Lakers at number 2? The Lakers.
Yeah,
I'm the LeBron fan. You got the Lakers at number 2.
Yeah. The Lakers had one of the best records in the NBA after the trade deadline last year. And they brought back a lot of guys, and I think they got better.
Okay. I mean, that's
real.
We're assuming, that's real. No.
We're assuming that Anthony Davis doesn't miss 1 billion games. But
you got the Kings completely out of the actual playoffs.
Yeah.
All right.
The Kings. Now, I'm glad you noticed that. I want to talk about the Kings. The Kings, I was struggling on like who was going to fall. Here's the problem with the Kings. The Kings were the healthiest team in basketball last year, literally. So it's like, okay, chances are that's not going to happen again. Again, they were one of the worst defensive teams in basketball last year. So it's one of those things like if they're not as healthy and they're just as bad defensively, I can see them losing a lot more games than they did last year. I think it was one of those things where everything was just going right for them. And by the way, shout out to Mike Brown, Light the Beam, won Coach of the Year as he should. And shout out to Mike Brown because he adjusted. Like, if you know anything about Mike Brown, he is an old school defensive-minded coach. If you don't play defense, you can't play. That was his mindset. So when I saw that the Kings were a top seed last year, I thought, oh, they must have, been a great defensive team because that's Mike Brown. When I heard they were like 26 in defense, I was like, wait a minute. A Mike Brown coach team is 26th in defense. And I say, yo, shout out to him because he realized, you know what? I got to adjust my coaching style. I can't just make everybody fit into what I want to do. I got to fit what my team is doing. So I'm rooting for him to keep winning. I like Mike Brown. Like I think he's a good guy. He's one of those people that you root for, right? But again, realistically, you know how I feel about defense. If you're not going to play defense, I can't really see you winning a lot of games. And especially since, like I said, they literally were statistically the healthiest team in the league last year. I said, well, that's probably not going to happen again. So I just see a drop off, right? If you're not going to be as healthy and you're not going to play defense, unless the Fox is going to average 35, I don't know how you're going to win a lot of basketball games. Not to mention the West got better.
Kings. The Mavs and the Thunder, nah, I don't see it. We'll see.
Again, I think the Mavs got better. Like they made small moves. They got better, They got better.
We'll see.
They got better. The Thunder got better, but they're still young. The Thunder could be up there. The Grizzlies. Now that Adams is hurt, I would say I made this just happen. So
yeah, I mean, neither me or you were accounting for Adams not being there.
Yeah. The Clippers, I have the Clippers.
I don't know if they drop out of the playoffs because of no Adams, but I do think it will hurt their standing regardless of where you put it.
The Clippers, you talk about health. I just can't trust the Clippers to be healthy. I hate to say that because as a Nets fan, I want the Clippers to be successful because they're the little brothers in LA. You know what I mean? Um,
But I'm literally basing everything on my standings
on health, right?
on everybody, on every team being healthy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I
But
didn't
but
put
see, but that's the weird thing for me. I would be right up with you. I'll probably put the Clippers like 3. But the problem is with them specifically, it's foolish to assume health. You know what I mean? It's just not even practical.
yeah, Kawhi's been irrelevant since he won in Toronto.
And not only that, they're like the main teams like pissed off about the load management thing. Is I was like, yeah, but guys, like y'all are the rules, but it should be called the Clipper rule because y'all niggas never play.
No, it should be called the Kawhi rule. We don't gotta. Me and you have a good fun time throwing Paul George under the bus at times because some people really put him in a tier that me and you never felt he was in. But with that being said, Paul George has been more of a reliable player throughout his career than
Yeah,
Kawhi.
Paul George is like legitimate. I mean, but yeah, the point, yeah, my thing is, with them specific, like this is, I'm with you. Every other team besides the Kings and the Clippers, I assumed health. And the only reason why I didn't assume health with the Kings is because, again, that they got so lucky with health. It's like, well, that's not going to happen again. And with the Clippers, you literally cannot assume health. Like you're just not allowed to. Obviously, if they're healthy, they're not 10. They're closer to 1 than 10 if they're healthy. But that is fool's gold to even assume health with this team at this point.
Kawhi's been a Clipper for 4 seasons. So
yeah, this would be year 5 for them. And it's like that's not, you know what I mean? And I feel bad. The Clippers and the Nets, I was hoping for a Clippers and the Nets finals because, again, as the quote unquote little brother teams, I thought that would have been awesome. I really did. And the fact that both teams just feel cursed because neither one of them could get lucky with health. The Clippers, in a lot of ways, way worse than the Nets. It's like, damn. You know what I mean? It's just like, wow. Like I can't assume health with them. And again, the West got better. So it's like, okay, if they're not going to be healthy, if they're not going to play half these games because they're legitimately hurt, forget load management. With Kawhi, it's like they have to load manage him because if they don't, he will get hurt. So it's just like, Jesus, like, I don't know. I can't assume health with the Clippers. And I just think they're ready to. I think they're just kind of like waiting for this team to die at this point. It's one of those things where it's like we can't trade any of these guys, so we're just gonna wait for their contracts to end and just start over. Like, you know what I mean? I just think there's no energy in that building, and it sucks. It really does because it's kind of not fair. Like the Clippers try, it's just sometimes you just can't win for losing. You know what I mean? It's
Steve
just,
Ballmer tried.
yeah. So like, I don't know. All right, award winners, finals predictions. You have Bucks versus Suns in a rematch, and you have the Bucks winning again. I have Lakers Bucks, and I have the Lakers winning it all. I don't know why. I just do. I just think again. I just think that LeBron is going to take advantage of, like, I think he knows that, okay, if we're gonna win, if I'm gonna ever win another championship, this is the team. Right, I'm 41, I think, coming into this year or in December, whenever his birthday is. Even I can see the mortality at the end of the road at this point. Like we saw it against the Nuggets. Like that was the first time he's like, yo, I'm not the best player on the floor. And so I just think that if it's gonna happen for the Lakers, it's gonna be this year.
It has to be this year or it's done. And
yeah, and that's literally the only way I'm putting it. I don't know. I just don't think that. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna root for the Bucks, so fuck the Bucks. So I couldn't get myself to put them as the thing. To be very honest with you, I'm surprised I even put them in the finals. But again, I just have so many questions about the Celtics. I gotta see it. I think the Dame to Milwaukee synergy is a lot easier to see than the whole reworking of the Celtics. But yeah, I just think the Lakers win. We both you have Joel Embiid winning. I have Joker winning MVP only because I think the only reason why Joker did win last year was because of voter fatigue. And I think now that Joel Embiid has one, they're going to give it. I think Joker winning that championship all the hype and flowers that he's been getting, I think is going to happen even more now. Because
I just feel like Joel will be photo fatigue. Joel will get a back-to-back MVP because of all the James Harden bullshit. And I feel like the Sixers will still be at the
I
top.
agree with you. Now, if Joel Embiid helps the Sixers be like a top 3 seed, I think he should win MVP. I agree with you. I think he should have won last year. I think it was kind of bullshit that they kind of soured his MVP with the voter fatigue narrative. Because I think Joel Embiid should have been the last 3 years MVP, in my opinion. So I'm not mad at that. If Joel Embiid wins another one, I'll be voting for him myself, even though I don't technically have a vote, but I would be voting for him. I just think the Joker love this year is going to be astronomical, and I think they will have the top seed again. And so he's going to get all the love and all the votes and all the hype because people wanted to give it to him last year. And now he won the chip. So it's like, yup, you can't say that we just love this guy just because we love this guy anymore. He proved he's probably the best player in the world right now. So that's the only reason why I think he's going to win it again. But I agree with you. Joel Embiid gets the Sixers to like a top 3, especially like a top 2 seed. You cannot give it to Joker. You have to give it to Embiid because I don't think the James Harden thing is going to get settled to the trade deadline. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm. I really said most of the things with the picks throughout this whole pod. I just feel like the Classic Rookie of the Year was one of the easiest years to pick. And Wemby, if he stays healthy,
I was gonna put that. Like, why Wemby? If Wemby just plays, he's gonna get.
Yeah, I feel like besides Joker and Embiid, if we had to throw out a couple of other names that are in this conversation, or I expect to be in the conversation this year, it would be a LeBron. It would be a Devin Booker. And
A
more
lot
so
of
because
people are saying Giannis. I don't see it because again, with Dame Lillard there.
no, Giannis is in the conversation. Like, because like Damian Lillard's cool, but like the Bucks.
Oh shit! Well, we lost Charles somehow. Oh, well, I guess I was gonna say the Dame thing kind of like there was still votes from each other. But anyway, Charles is gone. It's 1 o'clock anyway. It's time for football. You can find me at Never for Brett Me. That's NEVA _ the number 4 BRETT _ ME on Instagram and Twitter. He is Chuck G on all the socials. We are the _ dope blog on Instagram and Threads. We are the dope blog, all one word, on Twitter. Our website is thedope.blog. And because you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe, and join us next time as we continue to give you next propaganda. Deuces, NBA season is upon us, and we are excited. See you guys later.